So, welcome to the show, Nitin. You've been a fantastic leader here in the DT ecosystem, and we're happy you're growing elsewhere in a different ecosystem, in a different context. That's the mission of DT to produce young leaders for you, like you. And we'd like to learn from your journey. We'd all like to learn some nice habits because we know you are very disciplined and your temperament is something worthy of emulating. That when your chips are down, you always stood up. So, we're eagerly looking forward to your story. The stage is all yours, Nitin.
Oh, hi guys. So first of all, it's a pleasure being back here after quite a while. And it's good to see a lot of leaders. Okay, the ones who smiled just now are the leaders I talked about. So guys, okay, so let me go into my journey. Okay, I don't know where to start. Like I spent around a year at Deep Thought, but trust me, like I think that's the year which provided me the basement for who I am right now. That I might be doing a different job in a different context, as Tarun said. But the thing is that the basement is okay. Let me start with an analogy, right? So people usually say that you grow and you build your basement when you are at school, right? When you're in your kindergarten days, when you're in your pre-KG, when you're in your childhood days, and when you're in your higher secondary college. But I think I was like I was like the 5% when I was there, but I think Deep Thought took me somewhere else. It's like a ultimate launch pad for me in my career. Okay. For the grand year, I just started with the grand entrance, saying that Deep Thought provided me with the greatest entrance like ever in my career, and it provided me the gateway placement. But I'll tell you why, right? Why it happened. So first of all, when I initially joined Deep Thought, I was like very much fascinated with what these guys were doing, right? Because they told me that we are not focusing on a skill set. Nitin. Like Tarun asked me during the initial time, right? He asked me, Nitin, like we applied for technical product manager role. What do you know about it? I told Tarun, I don't know anything, right? I'm just looking for a job, so I applied, right? But and then okay, and then he said like, then why do you want to join Deep Thought? I told him, Ki, I want to join Deep Thought because like people usually focus on your skill set, right? What you're capable of doing, right? But Tarun and team, they had a vision that your skill set can always be worked upon, right? You can always evolve, right? Because that's the primary goal, right? People in Deshmukhi, they produce results where people in Deshmukhi, they produce results where corporate people or people, experienced people suffer to produce, right? Like the second years, they did back in I don't know how much time, like, but it was very less time. How
So,
much, like, what's the,
a little outdated knowledge. Now, diploma
oh,
first year, 15-year-olds not only did front end back end, but they also put a machine learning model inside that app.
okay,
We have
okay,
400 of
okay,
them now.
okay, that's awesome. Okay, see, like it's like very exciting just to know that people are producing that much results. But the baseline, right? But the baseline for those results are the L&D, right? The learning and development, right? Rather than just focusing on skill set, key what you're coming with, right? Because when I came, like I had a degree, right? Pseudo degree, right? To be honest, I just came with a degree, but everything got built, right? People stacked me up with a competencies, right? First, I believe the first important competency required for anyone, right, to grow in their career, personally as well. I think it's comprehension, right? The ability to listen carefully, right? The ability to articulate and understand everything that is being taught to you. Because if you are able to assimilate everything, I think that's where the growth starts. If you are able to capture, because people usually, let's say Tarun is giving you a great cake, right? It's like, let's say the cake is of 1 kg in weight, right? But the people, and let's say he's giving it to everyone. He's giving 1 kg cake to everyone. Some of them will take half kg. Some of them will take 10 grams with them. But there will be the ultimate group, right? The student unicorn category, right? What they will do is they will take like 1 kg, and with their questions, they'll take even more along with it. If I'm making sense, right? That's comprehension, right? That's why I'm a fan of thread building. Even now, when I'm working, I thread build, right? I take my Google Sheets out, I thread build. Like playing a piano, I do that. People usually see that, what is this guy doing? And I'll say like, guys, you'll know after the meeting is done, right? When I send them pointers of what happened throughout the meeting. That's something very critical, right? Thread building and comprehension, they go hand in hand, right? If you are good at thread building, yes, you are there halfway, right? You are there halfway, you are in the growth journey, right? That's my ultimate competency for starters. And after comprehending, right, the next important thing that I think is important is planning, right? I'm talking about these things because these are the things that led to my growth in deep thought as well as outside deep thought, even in my personal life as well, right? Planning, right? First, comprehending whatever is being told to you, and then planning, right? Planning the things that you have been comprehended, right? For planning, there is this important concept. I don't know, but God's grace, like Tushar suddenly came to me, told me that Nitin, you have to take a workshop. And I had no idea what workshop it was. He said, systems thinking. What systems thinking? What systems thinking, Tushar? You learn, man. I'll tell you, I have to take the workshop. I'm giving you the topic. You learn, Tushar said. And then I went and I just researched about what it was. Man, that was a game changer, to be honest. Right? Because, like, once upon a time, I was able to solve a lot of problems, even in my personal life, with systems thinking. Right? Okay, like for starters, like is everyone here aware of what systems thinking is? I can give a short intro to systems thinking if you guys are. I mean, most of them from deep thought are already aware. I know that. Like, can you guys raise your hands if you are well aware of what systems thinking is, or if you want a short demo, you can raise your hands right now on
You
a
can
count of three.
give us.
Oh, hi Aditya.
I actually, it was like that and that.
Okay, then okay, I'll go with what systems thinking is in short. In short, I'll go with what systems thinking. Okay, Tarun used to give this analogy with cogwheels, right? Am I like spelling it right, Tarun? Cogwheels, right? They are. Okay, okay. Okay. So what systems thinking according to me is, okay, let me give an example, right? You guys studied college. Okay. In your college, what do you guys think is the ultimate most important thing that you did? What are the things like what is the ultimate purpose of you guys studying in a college? What's the ultimate purpose? Like anyone can raise your hand and answer. Like why do you study in college? Like why do you pursue that degree? Anyone, Aditya, please shoot. Shoot.
Getting a degree and knowledge, basic knowledge.
Okay, getting a degree. Okay. Thank you. Yes, Vinay. Yes, Vinay. Come on,
Same
Vinay.
thing. Knowledge. I mean, expertise in
Beautiful.
uh, your career, what you want to choose.
Okay. Let's say that gaining expertise in a particular domain or gaining a knowledge in a particular domain. For example, I did aeronautical engineering, which I'm not an expert of, but still gaining expertise in a particular domain, right? That's why people, guys, will like we got our answer. Sorry, Prahlad and Sanskriti. Like we'll go with some other questions some other time. But thank you for the initiative. Okay, so gaining expertise in a particular domain is like why people pursue college, right? So what is that why? What is that why? What is that why? That why is the ultimate purpose, right? The why is the ultimate purpose for you to study in college, right? For that, like gaining a particular knowledge in a particular domain. So for you to attain that purpose, right? What are the things do you think is required for you to get that purpose? What do you think are the things that are required? You guys can go with your own. For example, classroom can be one thing, right? Faculties, really good faculties who can teach well can be one thing. You guys can quickly drop in the chat key. What do you think are the things that are required for you to get a particular domain knowledge in college? Anyone? System. Okay, system is more like more specific. You guys can go. For example, I said good curriculum, beautiful. Thank you, Utkarsh. A good curriculum is required. Good faculties are required. Good classrooms are required, right? So what happens? So what happens like if you have a beautiful classroom, right? A beautiful environment. Let's say you have all the resources, right? Let's say you have a beautiful classroom, you have a beautiful desk, you have everything. But let's say you don't have a proper faculty to teach you. Do you think you will be able to attain your purpose? Like you guys can say, like, let's say you have everything, but you don't have a good faculty who can teach you. Do you think you will be able to attain your purpose? No, right? Obvious, very obvious. So everything, right? Your classroom, your curriculum, your faculties, your environment, your peer group, your students. Let's say your peers are not that much into studying and they are bothering you every time. You will be able to do well in studies, right? No, right? Everything, right? So you understand these things that I'm talking about, right? Classroom, they are called components, right? If you consider your entire college as a system, right? These minute things that I'm talking about are called components. So what happens? What, like, do you think these components are interrelated with each other and they are somehow connected with each other? Do you think there's a connection? What is the connection? What's the purpose of that connection? What's the purpose? Why should it be connected? Why can't it be in silo? Yes,
If
Aditya.
it is not connected, the system won't work. The system will fail.
They
Okay,
complement each other.
exactly. This is what do you mean by the system will fail? What do you mean by that? What will happen?
Okay, I'll take an example. If we're running a motor and every gear is connected with each other. If one gear is missing, half of it will work, half of it will not work.
Exactly.
A
And
car cannot run.
exactly. But from a college perspective, what will happen? You'll not be able to gain that particular domain knowledge as you first set out for, right? The purpose will be affected badly, right? That's the ultimate. Yes, Sanskriti, please go on.
It's like a food chain in a ecosystem. One component is missing, the entire chain will be broken and it will affect the
Exactly.
entire ecosystem.
Exactly. That's how interconnected all the elements or the components of the system are, right? Like it's not like a food chain will not, I don't know whether it's a proper example, but what I'm saying is, like, in college, when you are set out to pursue a particular degree or gain a particular domain knowledge, a lot of systems has to work together, right? For you to especially like attain that particular purpose, right? Okay. So as you said, right, now I'll give you a definition of what a systems thinking is, right? Systems thinking is where multiple components, right, multiple interrelated components work together in order to attain a particular purpose, right? Just how in a college, a lot of the components work together, right? Your faculty, your peer group, and everyone, how they work together, right, to attain the particular purpose. That is you getting a proper domain knowledge. That's how systems work. Now, let me tell you how it helped me. How understanding of systems thinking helped me as a whole. So first I said, like, the first important competency I personally thought was comprehension, right? Gathering the data, getting that cake, right? Getting that cake, as much as content as possible, right? So what will happen when you gather as much content as possible? What will you gain, like, from systems thinking perspective? What will you gain when you gather as much content as possible whenever you are given a brief or whenever you are going through a document? What will happen when you are able to comprehensively understand as much content as possible from systems thinking perspective? Anyone? Yes, Aditya,
Yes,
please.
we can.
Okay, so I use the same method here. Suppose you're studying about the engine, and if you could, as a system thinking, you can get all the components. You can build a proper engine by yourself. And if you don't understand it, if you don't question it, and don't get the gears properly, you won't be able to build a functioning motor, a functioning engine.
Beautiful, beautiful articulation. Thank you for that, Aditya. Yes, Utkarsh.
We will get a why for every whatever the action, whatever the things we have learned. We will get why is it happening.
Why is it happening? Okay, we'll get the reason. But, like, okay, thank you, Utkarsh. What Aditya said was even more level deeper, right? He said you'll be able to understand the components involved. Okay, now let me give you guys an example. When I was in deep thought, I was working in a project, right, where we were working to improve the college's hostel experience of students, right? Like, if someone from our team is there, like, they will know, like, we are called the founder's office. like where we had like ultimate objectives to take care of the in St. Mary's only. Like Shagun is already laughing, right? Because she has been in some of the meetings, right? When we are the founder Arsha sir. So we are given a project where we wanted to work with the college students and the faculty and everyone in the system in order to provide the students with the best hostel experience possible. Hostel and mess experience, right? Both. So that was the brief given to me by Arsha sir, right? Unfortunately, due to some personal challenges at that time, my comprehension was low, right? But if my comprehension was on high end at that time, like we would have been able to comprehend everything that Tarun and Dasha sir expected out of us, and like the brief that they gave us, right? So, but anyways, with the comprehension we had, what we did is we understood what are the things that the college requires. The project is to, right, the purpose, right? As I said, the purpose is to improve the hostel and mess experience of students, right? That's the purpose of our project, and we were given a brief for the same. So what we did together as a team was we sat and we prepared a system. When I say system, we prepared what are the components that needs tweaking for the students to attain that perfect experience, right? For them to ultimately do well in their academics. Right? That's the ultimate purpose. But our purpose is to provide hostel experience and mess experience. So we sat together and we tried to understand what are the components that we can like tweak for us to attain this particular purpose. So some of the components that we discovered with is like there was a guy called Kalyan at that time, Chef Kalyan, right? He's the chief chef, right? So he's one major component because the food has to be good for good mess experience. And then Harsha sir is another component, right? And then the students are another component. The hostel faculty, right? The hostel faculty, the caretakers, they are another component, right? And then the mess timings are another component, right? The mess food, the menu, right? There was a time where like we like literally sat and we jotted down what are they serving, right? So, like what exactly are they serving? Like we used to say, today you didn't give us vegetables, right? That's how we monitored the system, right? At that particular time, right? So these are all the components. Yes, sir. Yeah.
We stopped monitoring, and again there were problems, and now Rafi started
Oh.
monitoring.
Oh, okay.
Rafi monitors, he sends those photos in the WhatsApp group every day.
Oh, wow. All right. But yeah, like that's how we sat and we planned together as a team. Key, how can we make this happen, right? And I think like there are sheets related to it. You guys can look through. They are really good learnings for me, right? So that's when we did that, right? Even though we were not able to ultimately give the students with good experience because of other challenges we had that time, because we was like, wow, that was that time, like it was like giving you guys food, good accommodation. Like we were like roaming here and there. Everyone was like getting burnt out. Like it was mind blowing at that time. That's altogether a different component that came in. But what we did in this particular project was we understood the components and then we understood where the tweaking is required. So what we did is we understood systematically. When we understood systematically what are the components required, when we understood that, we were able to understand and plan, right? Plan key, what we'll do first, what we'll do next, what we'll do. We are able to divide our work in chunks and we are able to execute the project, right? So I think that's the next important capability, right? First is comprehension and then systems thinking, right? To understand and plan and to execute. So, and the third important component, right? Sorry, the third important competency, I feel like is very essential for everyone. The ability to experiment, right? The ability to experiment, obtain results, and then iterate, right? I think that's part, that's like, that makes you an outlier, right? The ability to quickly like understand the system, the ability to quickly gather the components, the ability to quickly learn like what are the components that are playing the role in the system, and the ability to experiment with some of the components and derive certain results, right? For example, during our time in the hostel and mess project, some of the experiments that we did was we tried to collect the data for how the food actually is tasting for the students. What we did is we made a QR code, we gave it to the hostel students themselves for them to scan it, right? And then rate it, right? Are you getting the proper amenity, right? Are you getting the proper amenity? Rate your amenities in your room. Like we used to get data in this way, is there a fan in your room? Is there a table in your room? Is there a light in your room? Is your toilet functioning or not? Is it clean or not? We went to that level of the system, right? Where we gathered that much data. Unfortunately, we are not able to experiment like rapidly, right? But for the ones, if someone's working in that project, right, experiment, right? What I mean by experimentation, it's not like I'll do experiment randomly. I'll obtain random results, and then I'll say, because the stakes are very high, right? So that you can't like keep on experimenting. What I mean by experimentation is like data driven experimentation. Like I don't know, I didn't catch Mr. Hariharan Anand's like thought process on data. I missed it, but I'll get the recording from Shagum, because I loved the last summarization, to be honest, to be frank. But yeah, like what I mean by data driven experimentation is, first of all, like as one of the important points that Tarun said, or Mr. Hariharan Anand said, was key. Data has always been around. Just because certain tools are now helping us facilitate it more and play with it more, people are considering it as a career choice. But trust me, you are a data scientist if you think you are. Be it a content writer, be it a programmer, be it anyone. Data is everywhere. Data is literally everywhere. Everything is data, right? So what I mean by data-driven experimentation is, first you gather some data, just like how we gathered for that hostel project. We gathered some data of the students, right? And then you meditate. You meditate on the data. When I say meditate, is going through the data with everything you got, right? Going into the high performance state and then meditating the data, right? Meditating as much as possible. When I say meditating, it's like understanding again, right? Systems thinking comes into the picture, right? How is this data like? How is this data like affecting the purpose of the system? If, for example, in the college data, hostel data that we collected, right? How is this data of these students saying that they don't have the proper amenity? How is it affecting the system? Right? It's affecting the system because they'll not be able to study if they don't have proper amenity. Right? They'll not be able to focus on their academics without proper lighting in their room. They'll not be able to focus on their academics because if the restrooms are unclean, right? The ability to like think from the system and meditate on the data. So once you meditate on the data on a regular basis, just for the sake of meditating, if you do it, at one point, what will happen is you'll develop an intelligence, right? Let's call it data intelligence, right? It's like an intuition that you'll develop from data. Like I heard it somewhere, right? When great data scientists go through data, right? They'll not go through every data. Their intuition will tell them what are the data points that are essential. Their intuition will tell them, right? Their intuition. It's not like consciously happening. Their intuition will say, okay, this is the important data point, right? Meditating through it, right? Rather than like immediately coming up with insights, meditating through the data, developing the data intelligence will give you certain insights, right? On how to act on the particular project. For example, when we meditated through our hostel and mess data, we understood some of the students in the hostel were not receiving good amenity, right? So when we gathered that particular insight, right, that around 60% of the people are not, I'm just giving a random number, around 60% of people are not getting this proper amenity. We were able to like say to the management, please fix that first. Now that's decision making, right? Now that's decision making. Because you understood the system, you gather the data that is required for the system, you systematically meditated on the data, you develop the institution, the data, the intelligence. That intelligence automatically gave rise to an insight, and that insight made you take a certain decision, right? That is data-driven decision making and experimentation, right? The ability to quickly get insights and
Just
just
a clarification so that your thoughts are not misinterpreted. So
okay.
I think what you're suggesting is you collect all your data and introspect around the data and you give it good amount of time so you're not reactive but
Exactly.
proactive. And after that you get an intuition and you validate your intuition through analysis. I would put a caveat around intuition. I mean, my mentor, Professor, me against my own intuition. He said, a lot of times you may trust your intuition and believe your intuition will help you, but intuition can go wrong.
Exactly.
That's exactly why we have data, because data helps us verify whether an intuition is indeed correct or not. So
Exactly.
you may have an intuition that a lot of rooms do not have fans. Then you pass that query and check how many rooms have fans, how many rooms don't have fans. And when you get to
Exactly.
60% of the rooms do not have fans, then again you have an intuition that 60% rooms do not have fans is the biggest problem. Then you run it through all other problems and then check, okay, which is the biggest problem? And then you say, okay, priority 1 this, priority 2 this, priority 3 this, and that becomes your decision, and your maintenance team goes and, fixes ABC. And yeah, thanks to that, now I think our hostel amenities are now fixed. But I think intuition is definitely very important. Intuition is the source of the idea. But along with the intuition, the twin pair is the rigor. Intuition is accompanied by the rigor. And data helps us in bringing that rigor of statistically evaluating whether what we believe is right or wrong.
Right.
Intuition helps in the hypothesis. Data helps in verifying that hypothesis rigorously, just because this group
Exactly.
of data scientists just trying to bring that clarification. Sorry to interrupt.
Beautiful.
Back to you, Nitin. Yeah.
No, that beautifully articulated. I think it's a wonderful insight for me as well. Right. Along with intuition, it's about the rigor and verifying how much efficient your decision making is, because your intuition might say something, but the actual important priority problem can be otherwise. Right. So that's why I think it's important to have a mentor as well. Right. I think like that's where a mentor for reviewing like your insights is also important. Right. Because like mentors are one of the greatest gifts that you'll ever receive. Like the ones who are under Tarun's mentorship. Like you guys are at the best period of your time. You'll not realize it when you are there, but I realized it at least when I was there as well. But yeah, mentorship and the other things come into picture when it comes to rigor, right? That's where high performance, like collaboration, brainstorming with the other teams will come into picture. But yeah, taking those data-driven decision making comes once you develop that data intelligence. So I think these are the major components in my life currently, as well as when I was in deep thought, played a vital role, right, in transforming me. As I said, first is the comprehension, the ability to comprehend and clearly understand and gather as much information as possible. And the next is to systematically think and plan how I'm going to execute the project in a systematic manner, right? In chunks, right? Understanding which component is contributing to what of the system, understanding how one component is linked with another component, and how affecting, like how tweaking this will affect that component, that system, as I said, right? The college example that I gave, right? That is the second competency, and also a vital role in doing that. So yeah, the third one is the data-driven decision making, along with the experimentation coming inside the picture. Like, so yeah, that's it. Like I think I have given a lot of like content, right? Like I have given a content that was very much useful for me, and that indeed is playing a huge role in my career right now. Because whenever I'm given a certain project in my like current work, what I try to do is I create a system, right? That's like the baseline of deep thought when I was in DT. Whenever someone says something, I'll go and write hostel and program, like hostel and mess program system. Okay, a hostel system, mess system. I'll create a Google sheet, and then I'll enter all the components. Okay, these are the components involved. These are the components that's affecting the system. And then we will come up with a plan to how to execute it. And then we experiment and we execute. And yeah, that's it, guys. Like that's my okay. I went more into my transformation. This is how I transformed in deep thought, and these are the major components or the competencies that is affecting my career right now in a massive way, which provided me with a massive income. Because if you are able to comprehend as much as possible from the other person, you are already way ahead than a lot of people. Trust me, it's a very key factor that I have been experiencing, that I have experienced in deep thought as well. If you are able to comprehend as much as possible, you will have better systems thinking, right? Because you know a lot of components that's coming into the picture. When you know better systems, you'll come up with better plans and you'll be able to execute in a better manner. Along with data, you'll be able to execute and you'll become a execution monster, as we call it, right? So yeah, so that's it, guys. That's it for my insights for now. You guys can shoot any questions. anything like it's up to you guys. Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity as well, Tarun. It's like amazing to be back and to like give at least 1%, right? Like of all the knowledge that's there in the ecosystem. I know everyone's like fantastic in deep thought because I know like the thread building will make you level up, right? It'll make you go to the next level, right? But my journey deep thought was fantastic. It's not even like around 3 months since I am out of DT. Right. I was out of DT due to personal reasons, or else I would have stayed there and I wanted to grow the organization. I was out of deep thought because of some unexpected components coming into my system. Right. Right. That's where I was like out of deep thought, or else I would have been in deep thought. But the thing is, like, these are some of the insights that I've gathered, some of the transformations that I've achieved, some of the important competencies that I gained during my time at Deep Thought. But yeah, up to you guys. Like, you guys can shoot any questions because I came in out of nowhere, right? With a with a not so good haircut. I regret it, but still, like, came and blabbered something, right? So I don't want to like make it feel like, okay, this guy, like you guys saying this guy said something and then you guys
So then I think,
going.
we'll
Yeah.
take questions here. Yeah, guys, please go ahead. Nitin will be very happy to take your questions. So yeah.
There is a lot of questions to be asked, actually. We always, yeah,
Who's going in the first question? Come on, go ahead. Who's going with the first question?
Yeah. So
Go ahead. And then Aditya
Yeah.
can go.
yes, Krishna. Hi.
Hello. Hi, Nitin.
Hi. Yeah.
Like, you said that you always, do something and like collect all the components that which affect the purpose. Like, uh, like what to do like when you not consider all the components. Like, suppose let's say I missed out some components and like at the end like that affected the purpose very much. So, like how do I do
How
that?
do you know that you have collected all the components is what you're
Yes,
asking.
yes.
Okay, how do you understand that the entire, wow, that's a beautiful question. Thank you, Krishna, for that question. So like there is no specific criteria to understand like whether you have gathered all the components. For example, when we were working in the mess hostel project, I remember like when we were planning the hostel project, like we gathered as much component as possible, right? Intensive research went in, the team went in and researched and talked with the caretakers, talked with the company's founder and at the care and as well as the caretakers at the same time, right? The end-to-end research, right? That's what the research mindset comes into the picture, right? The curiosity, I think, will be the most important factor. First of all, right? You have to love the, like, not have, sorry guys, sorry, extremely sorry. Like if you are in love with the project, right? If you are in love with the project of what you are doing, obviously you'll be curious to understand, right? So when that curiosity is there, you use that curiosity to research. So when you go into that intensive research, you will be able to gather as much components as possible. But trust me, you will never know what are the components are completely. Because when we were working in a hostel and mess project, Tarun came and told me, we have to talk to this particular guy, Nitin, he's new to the system. And I was like, okay, who's this guy? Like we were talking to a lot of guys. I think one of them were named Gosh. Gosh, he was one of the hostel's key chief warden, right? Gosh was there. And then someone along with Gosh suddenly came into the picture. Whom we don't know was in the picture at all, right? He was not a part of the system. Suddenly he came, right? That is, I think that is why intensive research and curiosity comes into the picture and the ability to iteratively evolve, right? More components come in, more you add them to your planning and executing them. Does that answer your question, Krishna?
Yes. Thank you, Nitin.
Thank you so much. Yes, Priya, please.
Hello, hi Nitin.
Yeah.
So at that time when I came in at first day, so you are the person who takes me from the main
Yeah.
gate and guide me to that room SAVC.
I remember. Yeah, tell
Yes,
me, Priya.
yes. So my question is, in this high productive environment, how can we manage all the things like products and uh, like handling the team members also? Or how can we done that in a more productive way?
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful question. Okay, what you're saying is along with the projects, how will you be able to manage all your team members as well? Like everything that's
Yes,
involved,
yes.
right? Okay, makes sense, makes sense, makes sense. Wow, team members. Okay, wow. It's been quite a while since I heard the word team members. Wow, like Deep Thought's ultimate strength is the wolf pack, right? It's not like one or two will be aligned. Everyone will be aligned with the project that we are doing, right? So I think first of all, if we are like and trying to understand how to handle our team members, that in itself like is kind of not the right way, right? The approach, right? It's not about us handling or guiding the team members, right? It's about us giving them the bigger picture, right? That's how you make them you. If you understand me, you make them you. That means like if the as a project lead, right? You'll be given a certain brief which you have comprehended, right? And that brief will make you come up with plans and execute stuff. But there's a project framework in Deep Thought, right, called the 4SA method, right? And that in 4SA, like I mean, just follow 4SA method, right? For Priyank, I think your team members will automatically get aligned to what you are doing as a team, right? So first of all is aligning your team members and ensuring that they are aligned towards the project's basic objective. That if you do that, 90% of your work is complete. If you make sure your team members are aligned to the project, and if you ensure that they're aligned by reviewing them, there is a mantra for leadership in Deep Thought, right? Wow, I think Tushar taught me this. First, the first important thing is you understanding the purpose, right? Why this project exists. Why are you even working on this project? Because when you're working on a certain project, you're spending the company's valuable resources, including your time, on the project. So why the purpose is very important. You first try and understand the purpose. And then the ability to communicate the purpose to your team members is the second most important thing, right? The ability to communicate and make sure that your team members get an idea of the project and why they are actually doing the project, and the ability to review and understand whether they actually got it right. Reviewing is one of the most underrated aspects of leadership, right? Because from my perspective, when I got the leadership chance in Deep Thought, I was like, I personally felt like I did a good job aligning the team members to the project, right? My team will be like, yes, yes, I got it. But what I will do is I'll not review them from time to time. They'll make something, and then the results will come, and then and then you'll understand, okay, this went wrong. So reviewing and understanding whether your team is on the right path, right? If you do this, I think your team will become self-sufficient and self-manageable team, right? At Deep Thought, we are like not people who will micromanage your team, right? We will create unicorns who are self-managed. You guys understand? It's not like you are the leader. It's like everyone's the leader, but you will be the ultimate decision maker, right? That's how you can manage your team. Does that answer your question, Priya?
Yes, Nitin. Thank you. Thank you for answering.
Thank you so much. Yes, Shubha, please.
Hi, Nitin. First of all, hi.
Hi, Shubha.
Okay, so I have a follow-up question. Like, my question is related to what Vamsi said. Okay, like
Okay.
if we can never find out like the all the components in a system, how can we validate? At what point we can validate that yes, we have figured out all the components of this section of this system? Because if we can't validate, we can't experiment on those aspects, right?
Exactly,
So
makes sense.
yeah, so how can we figure out that at what point we can get to know that we have covered out all the aspects of this system and we can experiment on those aspects where we have
Okay,
not experimented yet?
got your question. Thank you, Shubha. Shubha, okay, let's consider the college as a system again, right? So first of all, how will you understand? I think like how will you understand the components of a college, right? How will you understand? You tell me, right? Shubham, like you tell me, consider the
Yeah,
college as a system, right? How will you learn the components of the college?
by dividing the bigger system to smaller parts, like we can figure out like
How will you figure out the smaller parts?
we can figure out the smaller parts by we can how can I figure out this one? Okay, we can figure out the smaller parts by relating them to the bigger picture, like just
Beautiful,
like
beautiful. That's that you understand the purpose.
yes,
And then the
yes,
most important thing is you have that research mindset. For that, you have that childlike curiosity. Is what Yogi sir said in one of the videos. Right? He said you have to have childlike curiosity. Right? Because that curiosity will give you an ultimate research mindset that will make you a monster and understand as much components as possible. Right? And you understand whether it's related to the purpose or not. For example, when it comes to the college, right? When it comes to a college, the outside traffic, right? There is outside traffic. There is traffic outside college. That's also one of the components that's affecting the system. But it need not be an essential component of the system. But faculty,
yes.
how how
It's
how how
it's
how
very
are,
crucial
how are you able to say that it's crucial?
because I can somehow ignore the outside traffic, but what's happening around the curriculum, I can't ignore that because
Why?
because it plays a bigger picture. It plays a bigger role.
Exactly. You are thinking from the purpose.
Yes.
Thinking from the purpose. You're thinking from the purpose of the system. That's how you can validate.
So you are saying that we'll have to make sure that we validate things ourselves and to a greater regards. Like our validation is the biggest validation because we are inside the system.
Not like our validation is the greatest validation. It's about understanding how much impact it has on the purpose of the system. For
So that's
example,
how that okay, continue, continue.
yeah, for example, let's say there is traffic for 1 year. When you're studying in college, there is traffic for 1 year. Okay. Okay, they say there's traffic for 1 year and the students are coming late every day to the college. Then that's an important component that you need to deal with. But let's say there is traffic for once a month, for 12 days, throughout the year. It's not an important component because it's not affecting the system in a major way. But even if there is not a good curriculum, even for 1 week, then that's a major component, right? You think from the purpose and understand the component that's affecting the system, basically. Got the idea?
Yes, Nitin, you made it very clear for me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes, Utkarsh.
Yeah, my question is after collecting the data, when it comes like ability to experiment, you told in last years with data-driven decision making. So we have to do multiple experiments and find out which one is the most optimum. And for every problems, we are having a kind of particular time frame or deadlines. So how will we manage the experimentation and the time frame? So we will get the optimum result at that time frame only.
Beautiful, beautiful question. Thank you, Utkarsh. So first of all, when there is a particular time frame, right, or a milestone that you have to achieve a certain thing within this particular span, which is like a crucial thing in most of the thing. I think that's not where you play. I personally think that's where you execute, you obtain results, right? When there is that pressure of time frame, I think experimentation will become a little tough, right? When there is a deadline or so where you got to deliver results. At that time, when you sit and experiment, it's like you disrespecting the purpose of the project in itself, right? Because you got to deliver at that time. For example, let's say you have given your word that you will reduce 5 kgs in a week. Okay. Let's say you have given your word that you will reduce 5 kgs in a week. So you have the commitment to reduce 5 kgs in a week. At that time, you not sit and understand whether running 1 kilometer will help me reduce, or whether can I experiment with diet, or can I experiment with playing a sport, learning a sport. At that time, you are not to like experiment because you have to reduce 5 kgs because that's the ultimate goal that you have set for yourself, right? At that time, there will already be a framework, or you develop a framework which you think is optimum and you go with it, right? You develop a plan and you go with it. So experimentation will come when you have that space, right? Let's say, yes, Tarun, want to say something? Experimentation, I think you can do it like when you have the space, when you don't have that pressure to deliver, if I may put it that way. But even with it, you can experiment, but that's where review comes in, right? That you review your plan from time to time with your team members or with your mentors. You say whether this is possible, can I do it? Validation comes in to the picture. You validate your plan. You can say that I want to experiment this, and you validate it, and then you go with it. And you also understand how much it is affecting the end purpose as well. If the stakes are very high, and if the loss is more high, I think this is we learned something called risk management in deep thought, right? The ability to understand how much risk is not a good risk, because not taking risk is a bigger risk than taking a risk, is what we learned, something around the lines, right? Not taking risk is very dangerous. Taking risk at the same time, understanding, validating the impact of the risk, right? That is through mentor. We all are not born geniuses, but there are certain people in this world who have learned a lot, right? Who have experimented a lot, who have gained a lot of insights. So it's good that you validate and then iteratively evolve. Does that answer your question, Utkarsh?
Yes, yes. Thank you very much.
Beautiful, beautiful questions.
Nitin, just want to add to that.
Yeah.
So, first, I think one has to be very careful about how you think about deadlines, right? If you're not too careful, everything you do in your life is a priority task. If everything that you do in your life is a priority task, you don't get to experiment at all. If you think about it, you teach for 3 periods a day, right, at St. Mary's. So when you teach for 3 periods a day at St. Mary's, you might say that every class is a priority thing and all my 18 periods in a week are a priority mode. But if you think about it carefully, you might say, okay, I'll take one little element of my class. I'll experiment that. I'll do one fun activity in my 50 minutes class. For 5 minutes, I'll do one fun activity. I'll manage my time. 45 minutes, I'll finish everything. 5 minutes, I'll do a fun activity. I'll run that experiment. If it fails, that's okay. Remaining 45 minutes will anyway go fine. Does that make sense? But in this 5 minutes, I'll run my experiment. So I think you've got to create that opportunities for yourself for trying something small. So one thing Sean Ellis told us in Bangalore on Tuesday was, if you have the intention to experiment, if you believe in the value of experimentation, like Nitin was talking about the value of experimentation, if you believe that you'll be a way better person with experimentation and you believe in the value of experimentation, then probably you will find an opportunity to go experiment. So I would say you don't always get the time for experiment, but you'll have to create that opportunity to go and run your experiments. But as Nitin said, you've got to understand if the stakes are too high, you have to be a little careful about it. So one way to do it is to balance it, right? To say that, okay, the core of it is already sorted. There's some additional thing I'm doing. In this additional things, I'll try and do my experiments. To find those low cost, low risk opportunities is very important. Low cost, low risk opportunities always for experiments. I mean, I think the key, one of my cousins, Ravi Seelam Shetty, who runs this creative organics, he told me very early in my career that Tarun, always do low cost experiments. Do a lot of low cost experiments. That's what I think is also talking about, a lot of low cost experiments.
So,
Sir, thank you, Tarun. I got it. I got the main similar points of you and Nitin, what you have done. Like to calculate the risk, to calculate what before doing the experiment, to calculate the whole risk and then do the experimentation based on that risk.
Beautifully articulated. Thank you for it. Yes, Aditya.
so I would agree with Tarun here. Like, I also would not want the experimentation to stop. Now, you both give pointers as individual, how an individual can do experiments. But as a team, how about a delegation in a team? If there are deliverables can you can manage, like, so if we are 5 people, one person can be appointed for experiment and 4 of them can work on the deliverables. So, a suggestion from me.
Sorry, Aditya, I lost you. Can you repeat?
I was talking about if we are doing research and deliverables in a team. How about
Okay.
delegation that work of research to few people and delegating the work of delivering the deliverables to some people?
Hmm.
So would that help in a team? Because I believe that research cannot, I mean, should not stop.
Aditya,
I'm
your
not-
question is not clear. I mean, the delegation part is
Ah,
clear, but what is the exact question?
It was not actually like question. I just wanted to add pointed to the Utkarsh's point.
Okay, what point? The delegation, what?
A delegation part for a team.
Acha, you're saying if you delegate a lot of things,
Ha.
you get free time to experiment, is what you're saying.
Hmm. Yeah.
makes sense. Makes sense, Aditya. That's another insight. Thank you. Yes, guys. Any other questions?
One last question, guys. Who's going in?
One
Limited
last question.
supply, limited supply, please grab.
Leaders in the house.
Hi, Nitin.
We're not doing this these days. Earlier,
Oh,
Hi, Nitin.
yeah, Prahlad, please.
yeah, Prahlad, go ahead.
So, so tell me, like you told about different things that you learned from DT, right? Can you like tell me how it is helping in your career ahead? Like, what are the steps that you are like following from DT, and how it is helping you in the current career that you are
Okay.
doing?
Okay. Thank you for that question. So currently I'm working as a content writer in a startup in Chennai, right? It's a cross-functional role since it's a startup. I'm into content writing as well as like marketing sometimes, and as well as digital marketing sometimes, and as well as like client interaction, which is yet to come. So it's a cross-functional role. So how like the things I learned from Deep Thought helped me is as I already said, right? Like when you are a DT product, right, you are an outlier in the first place. That if you are spending 1 year in the Deep Thought, trust me, your comprehension will get to a point where unconsciously you are able to like assimilate a lot of things, right? Unconsciously you are able to assimilate, you are able to capture insights, because thread building is the ultimate weapon here, right? All credits
Yeah,
to
I
thread
agree
building.
with yes.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously, right? So whenever a certain brief is given, right, it's like you're thread building in your mind now. After thread building for a year, right, whenever a certain brief is given, you are able to thread build, right, and you're able to capture the key insights. So what that gives you is an unparalleled advantage compared to a lot of people in the industry, right? Not among your own colleagues. I'm not talking about your own colleagues, but from an industry perspective, right? From a career perspective, when you're able to comprehend things, as I said, half of the job is done. And when you're able to systems think and plan, another half is done. When you're able to execute according to your plan, iterate, evolve, experiment, I think yeah, that's how I'm currently like doing well, like in my career. Right now, what I'm doing is when I'm creating a certain content for the organization that I'm working for, what I do is I produce certain content and then I review it, and then I iterately evolve the content by reviewing it my senior people, right? So first of all, I research where before I start to write the content, I understand what is the comprehensive data that I need to research, right? That's where the comprehension part comes in, the ability to research thoroughly and understand the key factors, the key components. And then I understand what are the components that I can involve in this content that might potentially be like very much aligned to what the uh, like reader, right? Because Tarun always says this, right? Because it's not like you'll write something random and you will give it, right? It's about what value the readers are also getting. So that's my primary purpose. Along with improving my company's brand and spreading its brand values, my another purpose is to make sure the readers are getting good value, right? So I systematically design the content, and then I iteratively evolve, I experiment, I get it reviewed. So that's how it's helping me a lot. I mean, this is just an example of systems thinking can be used in any domain. Got it? Does that answer your question, Prahlad? Okay, I think he has some mic issues, but I will answer. Yes, question.
Actually, this question is out of this context. Like it is a little bit related, but I have question from both Nitin and Tarun. Can you just give me a confirmation? Like I'm thinking, can we connect and combine the system thinking and design thinking both, and
Ob-
make
Obviously,
something from it?
obviously you can. Obviously you can. Design thinking is an ultimate weapon. Like that will help you execute and evolve like a monster. Because Tarun, like used to say this key, we used to say this thing, like design thinking, it involves artistic and scientific experimentation, right? So design thinking in itself is a system for executing projects. You understand? Like design
Yes,
thinking.
I got it.
Hmm.
I just want to ask, like, can we collaborate both or do things?
Exactly,
Does
it's
it
already
will create a
collaborated.
issue, or it will help me gain more from it?
It's already collaborated, because when you are diverging in design thinking, right? When you're diverging, right? When you're researching and you're diverging, right? About what are the problems, right? First you take a problem and then you understand what are the problems that are contributing to this problem. That's systems thinking. That's you trying to understand the components that's contributing to this problem. And then you converge again. You understand, you come up with another 5 solutions and understand which solution will play the major impact in solving the purpose. So system thinking is design thinking. Like design thinking is kind of a system thinking. It's already collaborative.
Utkarsh, I have a slightly different answer to that. My
Okay.
answer is no and yes. Okay.
Okay.
And I'll tell you when it's a no and I'll tell you when it's a yes. If you are confirming to that thinking, right? You're taking it as a regimental exercise that this is how it is and I'll follow it the way it is. Which, by the way, is how 95% of the world learns. If you're learning design thinking in a very regimental mode, this is what it is and this is how I will apply it. No, you can't mix them. You will need someone to mix them and show you and again give you another 100 examples to practice. Then you'll again say it is A plus B thinking and you will learn how to do A plus B thinking. But when is it a yes? It is a yes when you learn design thinking not as a procedure or an SOP to follow, but as a philosophy that originated out of a need. So why did these researchers at Stanford come up with design thinking? Because there was a need for user-centric problem solving. That I may have 100 problems. Me as a developer may have 100, let's say I'm setting up a restaurant. I may have 100 problems and giving you that experience. But if I'm a design thinker, I will say whatever Utkarsh likes is important. I may have so much of inconvenience. Maybe Utkarsh likes a fish, but for me to go get that fish, I have to travel 30 kilometers. If I'm user-centric thinker, I will say I will travel the 30 kilometers. I will get that fish and make sure I make it available. If I'm not a design thinker, I'll say, okay, I'll give 10 rupees discount to Utkarsh and give him chicken. But if I'm a design thinker, I'll keep the user at the center of my entire decision making. So if you understand design thinking, there are various thought processes that it brings in. Design thinking is basically a combination of a few thought processes, right? Like scientific diagnosis, scientific prototyping. What do you mean by scientific diagnosis? Whatever is the reason for the problem, root reason for the problem, you test it scientifically whether it's really the reason or not. You don't go with opinion, you go with scientific data. Now, when you talk of scientific prototyping, you get an idea, you run a scientific experiment and you check whether what you're claiming is really true or not. For example, in Deshmukhi, we have a pedagogy, right? We have a way of teaching web development. We taught it to 400 students. So that's a scientific experiment. You went and taught it to students. You checked whether they were able to make their own project or not. Now that is validation that this thing has actually worked. Does that make sense? So design thinking, the way I understand it, is a scientific diagnosis and scientific prototyping. These are two key things. Of course, there are 7 other steps, but this is the core of it. So if you understand it as a thought process, then if you look at systems thinking, what is systems thinking? As Nitin said, there are a lot of components and you don't look at them individually, you look at them as a whole. If you look at them individually, you don't understand it. You look at them as a whole, you understand it, right? It's a sum total of the whole. Where 1 plus 1 is not a 2, 1 plus 1 is 100. That is emergence. So emergence is key to systems thinking. So if you're able to understand the philosophy of emergence, which is key to systems thinking, and you're able to understand the philosophy which is going on in design thinking, you'll end up using combination of them. I'll tell you something, Utkarsh. When I met my mentor, Mr. Sudhir Rao in Central Bookshop, he's the MD. I met him in 2019. He said, Tarun, if you have anything other than design thinking and Socratic dialogue, you tell me, I'm willing to listen. He said, no matter what product you make, finally you come down to these two only. There's no point of listening to you. You'll bring a new product, but I know if I dig it deep inside, these two only will be there. If you have anything new, you come and bring and show me. Let's say I'll go and tell him, sir, we are doing dream selling right now. He said, what dream selling? That is design thinking only for me. You are doing design thinking for the student. That is why you're doing dream selling. If you have anything new, you tell me. You understand why he's saying that? Because it's like you have a deep conviction in the philosophy. Design thinking is a philosophy. And you know why Sudhir sir says this? When I was doing the conference called Future of Education Extrapolate Conference, where school students gave advice to IAS officers and school owners on what future of education should be. In 2016, we did that. When I was telling design thinking, Sudhir sir, like, what is design thinking? TK, this kid is confident, I'll go with his confidence. He didn't believe me. I mean, he didn't believe my process, he believed me. You get what I mean? He was like, I believe Tarun. Whatever Tarun says, I'll do. Then the conference finished. Next day he came and said, now I understand what you mean by design thinking. Because he saw the Vishwarupam of kids on stage. He was like, wow. He was super happy that day. And since that day, he's been a strong believer of design thinking. He said, I heard about design thinking before, but I didn't know what its impact was. But you showed it to me. Trust me, today in Deep Thought, we are not doing enough design thinking. When we were in the NGO phase in science session, we did like amazing work on design thinking back then. So to answer your question, if you really believe in it as a philosophy, subconsciously you will end up using it in whatever you do. So it's not just Utkarsh, it's not just design thinking and systems thinking. I would say there are various other paradigms which will come in Socratic questioning and all these paradigms. So the idea is to acquire all those mental models, as many mental models as you can. Sanskriti asked this question, right? How do I improve my thinking? I think a simple answer I would give myself is how many mental models do I get exposed to? How many different mental models do I expose to? And it'll again go back to what Anand sir said in that video last year, right? Which you watched in your selection process. You learn a mental model and you practice it again and again. So when you practice it, you end up internalizing. And when you end up internalizing, you end up synthesizing. Exposure, practice, synthesis. I put it as that sequence. So Utkarsh, I hope that answers your question. My answer is a no and also a yes.
Yeah, it depends on how you see both thinking. So matlab, I got it like instead of taking it as a whole kitchen veg masala, we have to take it as a garam, I mean haldi masala, red chili powder, and that coriander powder, like 3 different components, not a single only. We have to go to in the depth of what it is, not going to the factual, like what is it written in the website or articles.
Absolutely. Welcome to Hyderabad, Utkarsh. We like our rice, we like our chicken. So
Okay.
That's what synthesis is, right? You bring different elements together. Yeah. So I think, Nitin, this was a fantastic session. We've taken a lot of questions, and again, to summarize, so Nitin spoke of, how you can truly build your personality, how you can truly build a foundation for your career. So like a question I would like to ask all of you is, how many of you are super ambitious? Again, 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you. It doesn't count now. Yeah. So if you're super ambitious, now again, a question. This time I'll give you 5 seconds. How many of you have self-doubt? 1, 2, 3. How many of you have self-doubt that I may not be able to do it? How many of you have self-doubt? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. No worries. Now the hands can still grow. Okay. With this, I'll give you time. So if you're ambitious, and if you have self-doubt, I think the formula he gave is fantastic. He has summarized his entire 1 year in sort of 4 points. First point he said is to improve your comprehension. We talk about thread building. I don't know how many of you are thread building right now. He said if you thread build enough, eventually you end up doing mental thread building. Right? That is the intent. I mean, Nitin, when I was listening to you, I thought of going back to Sean Ellis and saying, dude, we also hit our PMF on the thread builder. That's what I was thinking. How do I build my growth campaigns around thread builder product itself? And my brain was thinking of how do we do the activation strategy around thread builder? How do we create the early aha moment for thread builder for people was what my brain was thinking. Sean Ellis language. Anyway, so what is he saying? Thread building is key. You do more thread building, eventually, mentally it will start happening. By listening only, you listen as though you're thread building. Your comprehension goes up. You're saying, if you have strong comprehension, you're ahead of everyone else in the game. Even now, I'm raising my voice, so you're listening. I'm doing overaction, so you're listening. If I didn't do overaction, if I'm not emphasizing so much, will you still listen? I have to crack a joke so that you listen. If I don't have to, that means you're good. If I have to, it means I am good. And trust me, not everyone is a dramatic communicator in your life. So you have to have that comprehension. That I think is key. That comes before anything else. And where do you get that comprehension? You'll get that from, thread building is what he's saying. And eventually it'll become a habit where you don't need the tool to get it. Right? I think that was a fantastic insight that eventually it'll become a habit and that'll put you way ahead of everyone else. And initially, right? See the toughest problem. Now, let's say I'll just pick one person and talk. Nothing personal. It's like, say Priyanku, I'm talking to you, but when I'm talking to you, I'm assuming everyone else will also relate. So Priyanku, it's like, do you want to be the best? If you want to be the best, this comprehension is super important. But the key thing is, Priyanku, for 1 month, you've got to tell yourself every day that comprehension is super important to me. Because believing that this is important and continuously doing it every day is key to growth. A lot of people will come into this session. They will listen to Nitin. Nitin will say comprehension is important. They'll say, yes, comprehension is important. Tomorrow again, they'll go into L&D session. Thread building, okay. I'll say you're not doing thread building. They'll be like, okay. Like, idiot, do thread building. Okay, sorry. Then you have not internalized it, right? You're waiting someone to take a stick and say, do thread building. But Priyanku, if growth means something to you, it's about how you remind yourself every day that comprehension is the number one thing I want to crack. Comprehension is the number one thing I want to crack. And if comprehension is number one thing I want to crack, my tool is thread builder. I want to thread build. I want to challenge myself on how much I'm thread building every day. If you're able to do that, I think you'll crack comprehension. I spoke to Priyanku, but I'm sure everyone felt connected as well, right? So do you believe in your growth? Do you believe in your growth? If you believe in your growth, this is the first thing to crack. So it's like, Naji, if you want to grow, the first thing you would ask yourself is, how can I improve my comprehension? Because that I think is the first thing to crack. How can I improve my comprehension? So for that, I think it's to challenge yourself with as much thread building as you can. And the second point, as he said, is to practice systems thinking. Now, something like this, I started a job as a growth consultant in one of my clients' company because to make DT succeed there, I realized I need to give more time. So I'm giving time there to make DT succeed there. So over there as well, for every new project I'm taking up, again, I try to understand what are the pieces which are coming together. How are those pieces coming together? So I think that's something people learn here at DT because in Google Sheets, we make subsheets. Every subsheet is like a component. And you have an index sheet, and in the index sheet, you have all the components coming together as a diagram. So the Google Sheet practice itself will help you look at things as a system. So I think practicing more and more Google Sheets, I think, is super critical at Deep Thought, right? So that you can bring that systems thinking into what you're doing. As I said, first thing is comprehension. Second thing is systems thinking. And third thing is planning. Again, Google Sheets help you make a planner. This is what I want to do. By this time I want to do. Give yourself a definite time. And then go back, as I said, review. Review, did I really do it or did I not do it? Reviews are very key. Self-review is important for growth. What's important for growth? Self-review. Otherwise, we all are very good at procrastination. We all deserve PhDs and postdocs in procrastination. By birth only, we have that procrastination gene in our body. And creative people have extra genes of procrastination. Creative people are always procrastinating. So how do you beat procrastination? The Yamadharmaraj who will kill procrastination is review. The Yamadharmaraj who will kill procrastination is review. So how do you review yourself? I think is keen for planning what Nitin said. And the fourth thing that Nitin said is experimentation. Now, this is something which Professor Jim Collins of Stanford University, you watched this video again as a part of your selection process. Jim Collins spoke of how to be great. How many of you think you're great? Again, on a count of 3. How many of you think you're great? 1, 2, 3. Done. No more hands. Okay. Again, Professor Jim Collins says greatness is a choice. Greatness is not a matter of circumstance. Greatness is a choice you're making. You can choose to be average or you can choose to be great. I repeat again. You can choose to be average or you can choose to be great. This is what Jim Collins tells with maybe a little more energy than I do. That you can choose to be average or you can choose to be great. But if you choose to be great, 3 qualities are important. One of those 3 qualities is empirical creativity. In everything you do, you're naturally wanting to try it differently and see what happens. There are some people who are like, don't try anything new. What if it fails? Don't try anything new. What if it fails? Those are result-centric people. Those are result-centric people. If you're a result-centric person, remember Krishna in Mahabharata. I'm an atheist, but I really like this line. Karmani eva adhikara aste ma phaleshu kadachana. Get into process centrism. Try the process. If 9 processes don't work, you get the 10th process which works. That is empirical creativity. Try a lot of things. When you try a lot of things over a period of time, you get really, really good at what you're doing. This is what Artua also said in that Google review, right? Deep Thought is nurturing a community of people who will experiment a lot. So when they experiment a lot, they eventually get better at it. As Nitin also said, right? These people are mentors or these people are experts, not because they know so much, but because they've experimented so much. Real experience is in how much you experiment. Real experience is in how much you experiment. So I think running those little experiments, those little low-cost experiments is key to your growth. So 4 very important principles Nitin brought in, super structured. One is, of course, to improve your comprehension, right? If comprehension is a problem, forget the other 3. First fix this and come back, watch this recording again on YouTube. It will be there. And then look at the other 3. If you think comprehension is sorted, if you think you're thread building enough, second point, which is look at systems thinking. That means don't worry about the other 2, just do enough Google Sheets. If you think you've written enough Google Sheets and you've done enough documentation, then move on to the next one. If you have not done it, forget the other 2, the recording will be available. You can come back later. First thing is do enough thread building. If you have done it, then go into enough Google Sheets. If you have done it, then third part is, planning, create trackers, right? And review. Okay. If you have done it enough, go to the next stage. Shagun, don't go to the next stage. You're not doing it enough. So a lot of people don't do this. Like those who work with me realize every time I open a Google Sheet, I put greens, I put reds. I ask, is it done? Not done. I'm obsessed. I want to see the greens on my sheet. I want to see the reds on my sheet. I want to see it on my sheet. I think that planning and reviewing is super important. If you're not doing it, don't go to the 4th part. But one by one, you start practicing them. And the 4th part is experimentation. If you get the comprehension, if you get the systems awareness and documentation, if you're getting rapid experimentation, I think you would eventually be able to do a lot of experimentation also out of it. And the 0th thing before all of this, I think, is mindset, growth mindset. Growth mindset and self-esteem. Do you believe in yourself? If you are your own critic, no, if you say, I can't do it, you don't need any enemies in your life. If you say, I can't do it, you don't need any enemies in your life. Tarun will come and say, you can't do it. Tarun will come and say, you can't be a data scientist. What would you say? I can do it. I'll find my way to do it. Maybe I've found 9 ways not to do it. I'll find the 10th way now. That's okay. Let me find my ways to do it. Always go into that growth mindset of how to find ways to do it. Rather than asking, can I do it? Ask, how do I do it? I think that's key before you do all of this, right? So yeah, I think that's what Nitin showed, that there's enormous opportunity to transform. For that, you need comprehension, you need systems thinking, you need planning, and you need empirical creativity or experimentation. So I thought this was a wonderful package that Nitin sort of brought in. Just as a growth hacker, I wanted to make sure the product is, reaching the brains of everyone. As a teacher, that's the thing, right? When there's good content, I want to make sure sabke khopdi mein install ho jaye. Even if they don't use it today, they'll end up using someday. But as a teacher, your job is to dump it inside the brain, so that someday they'll start using it, right? And thanks, Nitin. I think it's a wonderful product, assembling all the 4 things. But before Nitin goes with concluding remarks, I think if all of you can join me in thanking Nitin for this wonderful package that he has given us. Zoom gives you a way to thank him, right? So if all of you can just join me in thanking
Oh God.
package.
I
Come on,
mean, I
guys, it
had
can be faster. Come on, guys,
no,
it
like
can be faster. Gratitude is important. He didn't talk about it. Nitin is that one person I heard who tells thank you the highest number of times. I've never seen anyone who tells more thank yous than Nitin. That's one more secret of Nitin and growth. He thanks people, he's grateful to people. So let's thank Nitin. I think being grateful is a great way to grow.
oh, thank you, Tarun. I mean, always like comes up with those like critical articulation, right? The way he summarized this as a product, right? The package, right? I gave a lot of content, right? But he automatically, right? This is what I called by mental threat building, right? He did mental threat building, right? And
Eagle
then he
building also,
uh,
eagle building also, which a lot of people don't do. Assembly happens
exactly.
through eagle builder.
Exactly, and like he created it in a product through which everyone can easily like take it, right? Like if I gave a lot of raw materials, he quickly prepared a biryani and he gave it to you guys in the tastiest way possible. So if you guys have not tasted the biryani, please enjoy your biryani, right? So yeah, like I think Karun pretty much like summarized everything, right? And he added a layer to the package as well, which is very important that I missed out. He added two layers actually. One he said was the mindset, right? The growth mindset, the ability to believe in yourself and know that you can grow, right? You have that opportunity to evolve. And the ultimate mindset is gratefulness. Like example, if you like that's the last layer. Like even if you fail, right? You thank yourself for the opportunity that was given to you. Because trust me, guys, deep thought is a fantastic opportunity for anyone to grow. I'm not saying only Krishna will grow here. I'm not saying only Shagun will grow here. What I'm saying is anyone can grow. Like you come in any shape, any form, any raw material, everything is accepted and everything is evolved there. It's like that place. It's like a dimension, right? You go through it, you come out upgraded, right? Beat anything. First, you have to have that mindset key. The opportunity that is given to you is very precious. And a lot of people in this world are not given the opportunity that you guys are given. Right? Tarun might put it out raw saying that a lot of companies are not responding, but we responded, right? But that's the ultimate vision of DT in itself, that even freshers, right, who people consider to be average, can produce extraordinary results, and that's what you have been witnessing in this, right? So, guys, this is a fantastic opportunity having that, like, quickly summarize again, right? The mindset, the growth mindset, and the self-esteem, and then the ability to comprehend and make sure an outlier already, and then the ability to plan, and then the system thinking and the ability to think systematically and plan and review those plans from time to time, and after that execute it with like empirical creativity, right? The love for experimentation, and at the end of the day, it's gratefulness, right, for all the opportunity that you are given. Because trust me, you guys are given plenty of opportunities. No one in deep thought will suffer the poverty of knowledge. Everyone will be rich in terms of knowledge. That much content will be going through in terms of all the layers that we talked. Like there was a time where Tarun used to play for us movies. Like I don't know whether he's doing it right now. Like some scenes from movies which will develop your first step, right? The zero step, the mindset and the esteem, right? Self-esteem. Like guys, like I'm talking a lot, right? Like I can understand that I can see for myself that I'm talking a lot. But trust me, the first week when I joined Ether, I told Tarun personally, I said that Tarun, like I'm not able to talk in a crowd where there are four people in the room. My heart, my heart starts pumping. I don't know for what reason it's pumping. I remember that Nitin, and I'm like looking at this Nitin, like was able to talk, right? Not only talk, but also like clearly articulate whatever is coming to my mind, right? So that is, I think, is like articulation is a key factor for a leader, right? Articulation is another key component for a leader, because you comprehending is not enough. You articulating what you have comprehended in a precise manner where other can also comprehend what you have comprehended even more, right? That's also a key component. But yeah, this has been an absolute journey. I thank Tarun, my mentor, who will always be my mentor. I might come to him in the future for a lot of suggestions. Like I'm openly putting it out. But yeah, like my ultimate mentor, like Tarun's leadership is like phenomenal, right? Like when you are there, like you might feel like Acha, it's very stressful. Like if you are there in that hot seat, you might feel like it's very stressful. It is indeed, not gonna lie. But I think that is directly proportional to growth. I'll say it's about having that gratefulness. It's about segregating yourself from work life and professional and your personal life, right? If Tarun is giving you an important pointer, it's not like he's telling you that personally, he's telling you that professionally. That also is a very key factor in any workspace, right? The ability to mentally look at yourself from a third person perspective and understand how you can evolve that person from that perspective, right? It's about you taking yourself, like it's about looking at yourself from a different perspective, from a third person perspective, right? And looking at what are the ways through which you can evolve that person. Acha, rather than saying, why am I not good at this? You can say that, how can I improve this? Right? The output oriented thinking is what is very important. Rather than digging into the problem and going deeper, you can like try and understand, how can I improve this? What is this trying to teach me? That mindset, and trust me, Tarun is doing all this. Like, for example, in Bible, there is something, right? During the olden times, right? The leaders used to be very harsh because that was required at that particular point of time. That's essential. That was essential. So, for example, right now he said, right, him raising a certain voice will make you guys listen to what he's actually saying. He's doing it for you. Having that gratefulness, he is doing it for you, but not for himself. Having that gratefulness, that will make you a really good mentee, and that will give you a fantastic opportunity to grow, is what I believe. And that being said, thank you for this wonderful opportunity once again. And I hope you guys a fantastic career ahead, because you guys are on the ultimate launch pad. I am saying it, there is no organization in this entire world that can give you the launch pad that Deep Thought is giving you right now. I can like even write and give it. If I want to like argue legally also, I can. I'm ready, right? Because that's how the launch pad is for you guys. So definitely make the most out of it. Have the gratefulness that you are getting that opportunity. Good luck, guys. Cheers. Take care, guys. Have a good evening. Enjoy your weekend. See you guys sometime later. Thank you, guys. Thank you for the opportunity once again. Thank you, sir. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Shagun. Thank you. Yeah. You guys can stop the recording.